The Brooklyn Nets are the newest super team to be assembled in the NBA. They've put together the greatest offensive trio in NBA history, and it's not even close. Kevin Durant and James Harden are both in the conversation for the greatest pure scorer of all time, while Kyrie Irving is averaging a cool 27 points per game this season. The closest to be the Golden State Warriors trio of KD, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and while those three might have worked better together, there's no question that Kyrie is more talented overall offensively than Klay. However, in order to acquire James Harden, the Nets offered up the vast majority of their young talent, along with a plethora of draft capital. One of these young players, Jarrett Allen, gave the Nets a presence in the paint and was a force to be reckoned with at the rim. This leaves them with a 32-year-old DeAndre Jordan protecting the paint, who is far removed from his glory days as a Lob City Clipper. DeAndre was once an all-defensive player, but he's allowing opponents to shoot a whopping 63.9% from within 5 feet, well below the league average for a centre. On the contrary, Jarrett Allen is allowing a mere 52.6% from the same range. Is there a possible solution to this problem for the Brooklyn Nets on the trade market? I believe that a trade for Brook Lopez could be a win-win trade for the Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks. The Nets would give up Joe Harris for a rim-protecting, floor-spacing centre in Brook Lopez. In order to make the money work, the Bucks have to throw in Sam Merrill, the final pick in last year's draft, and maybe a future second-round pick to account for the value and age difference between Joe Harris and Brook Lopez. Sam Merrill was a knockdown shooter in college, shooting 42% from deep in his 4 years at Utah State, and could potentially provide some three-point shooting for the Nets if needed at some point, and although he is currently in the G League bubble in Orlando. But why is this a win-win trade? So firstly, I think the Nets don't need Joe Harris's offensive productivity nearly as much as they need some semblance of rim protection and interior defense. Brook Lopez will offer that, averaging 1.5 blocks per game, and being more than comfortable at holding his own against some of the better big men in the league, like Embiid and Jokic. He was on the all-defensive second team last year, and the Nets desperately need this. Come playoff time, if they match up with the 76ers, Joel Embiid would dominate down low, easily putting up over 30 a night against DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre could then slide into the role of Dwight Howard on the Lakers last year, of being a menace to opposing centers when needed, like Dwight was against Jokic in the playoffs. Secondly, I believe the Bucks have not compensated for the fact that every year there is a wall built against them in the playoffs to stop Giannis. Giannis has still not developed his jump shot to a reliable degree, shooting less than 28% from 3 this season. A three-point specialist like Joe Harris, shooting 49% from deep, could offer some much-needed shooting around Giannis come playoff time. Now you might be thinking that the Bucks are currently top 2 in the league in three-point percentage, so why do they need more? Well, some of their top three-point shooters this season are Bryn Forbes, Bobby Portis, Dante DiVincenzo and Torrey Craig, who are all shooting well above their career three-point percentages, and I can't expect this to continue for a full season or a playoff run. Also, you have to consider that Chris Middleton tends to take a step back in the playoffs, so you can't expect him to be too reliable from 3 either. Lastly, I believe in closeout minutes, Giannis should be running the 5 for the Bucks. He has the offensive skill set to match up with anybody, as he gets most of his points at the rim anyway, and as the reigning defensive player of the year, he is more than capable of holding his own on the defensive side of the ball. Bobby Portis is a capable centre for the first 3 quarters, but Giannis should be closing out the game at the 5. Whether Mike Budenholzer is able to find it in him to adapt and attempt this is a story for another day, but I would be surprised if the Bucks could win a championship with their current lineup. So what do you think? Is the Nets' current roster good enough to win it all, or does a trade need to be made? Let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video.